Hello, everyone. Welcome to Student Engagement. Are they really learning with smart technologies? My name is Nina Scafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech, and welcome to day 3 of the Tech Virtual Summit. We've had a lot of amazing sessions so far, and I've been lucky enough to see this one in our last virtual summit. It was excellent. It was incredibly engaging. Get ready to play some games. Amy and Giancarlo have some really wonderful things planned for you. So, you know, start getting excited. We're going to start in about a minute, but I want to allow some time to let everyone enter the room. If you are just joining us, though, welcome to Student Engagement. Are they really learning with smart technologies?
It has some like intro music, so
I know. I need some bops in the background.
Exactly. I love it.
It's not like one of those announcers, which is awesome. I love it. And welcome everybody. And guys, as you're coming in, if you want to just, perfect, just like I think Laura did, if you want to just quick shout out where you're from and maybe what you do, that would be great.
Exactly. All right, if you are just joining us, welcome to Student Engagement. Are they really learning with smart technologies?
And as we're signing in here, we are, as Nina said, we're going to make it really engaging, and we're going to have everyone join hellosmart.com and join into my class code. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into the chat right now.
Excellent.
Hellosmart.com.
Like I mentioned, my name is Nina Scafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech, and welcome to day 3 of the Tech Virtual Summit. You are in Student Engagement. Are they really learning with smart technologies? If this is your first Zoom that you've ever been a part of, which could be the case, but likely not, considering we've all been Zooming for quite a few months. If this is your first time, take your mouse and scroll over your screen. At the bottom, you'll see a tab come up, and there will be a Q&A box and a chat box. Like Giancarlo mentioned, if you click into the chat box, let us know where you're from, what you teach, and throughout the session, if there's anything that you want to share with your fellow attendees, this is the place to do it. If you have a question that you'd like to ask Amy and Giancarlo throughout the session, please put it in the Q&A. I want to make sure that we don't miss them, so that'll be a perfect spot for your questions. Amy and Giancarlo might answer it during the session, but if not, don't worry. We have a couple of minutes in the end for them to address your questions. And last bit of housekeeping, I want to let you know that within 24 hours, you're going to receive a follow-up email. That email will include a video recording of this presentation, as well as a link to the presentation slide deck, and a link to the rest of the videos that we have recorded from our Tech Virtual Summit. So you won't miss a beat. With that, I'd like to introduce Amy and Giancarlo. Hi, you two. Welcome to the session.
Hello. Thanks for having us today. Thanks for joining, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, if that's okay, Nina.
That is perfect.
All right, perfect. So again, my name is Amy Lynch, and I'm the director of the education team at Smart Technologies for North America. And I was a former middle school special education teacher, and I've actually been Smart for about 13 years now, so quite a long time. And we've got Giancarlo with us today. Do you want to introduce yourself, Giancarlo?
Sure, yeah, and I'm Director Global Education Advisor for Smart. Been at Smart for quite a while as well, and also a co-founder of an organization called Catalyst, where we bring education system leaders together during this time. And we have the longest standing collaborative of government leaders. Over 80 countries are coming together to support each other during that time. So excited to be here and excited to be with all of you. I see a lot of people. We have grade 7 and 8 math teachers. We have, school librarians. We have chairs of English. So quite a bit of people from across the US and from different lenses. And that's the beauty of, I think, this session is we're going to make it very interactive, and not to steal in your thunder, Amy, but Amy's going to make it very interactive, and it's going to involve you using your phones and devices to contribute. And so I will leave it over to Amy to take us through this journey for the next little bit that we're going to be together.
All right, sounds good. So are they really learning? As you're thinking about going back to school next year, learning environments might look a little bit different this year. So how do you know if they are really learning? We're going to explore really some different creative solutions, how you can use particularly Smart Learning Suite to help you facilitate that. So to have you experience that as we go, like we said, we're going to make this very interactive. So if you want to jump out to hellosmart.com, and then you'll go ahead and type in my class ID, which is 367098. You can sign in as a guest. You don't need to sign in with a particular ID. I won't be assigning homework. We're not going to send this as homework for anything for you guys to do. So like Nina said, she'll be sending the file out separately. So just go ahead, sign in as a guest, type in your name. The class code is also in the chat if you need that, but hellosmart.com, 367098. And if you're previously using hellosmart.com as a teacher, you might want to sign out and join in as a student. There's always that little step if you've already been using this. So we'll keep that open. One of the things that I'm going to do while we're waiting for everyone is I'm going to put you into student pace mode. I'd had you in teacher pace mode. Student pace mode means that you can start sneak previewing throughout the entire lesson. You guys can scroll at your leisure, see what we're going to cover today for those keeners who are already in. All right, so we've got 10 of us connected. Let's wait a little bit longer here. So again, 367098, hellosmart.com. Love to have you join us here. It's a great way to participate, be active in this session, so we can work together. All right, so I think, Giancarlo, with that, we're ready to move on, and we'll, it's in the chat if you still need that.
Perfect. Yeah, let's keep going. And those of you that might be driving or not in a position to be using a device while you're watching this, that's okay.
Yes.
We'll be talking through what everybody's sharing and contributing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So starting off, we wanted to just get a little bit of feedback about what you are anticipating for the start of your year. And at this point, probably have a more solid idea, at least how you're starting the year. Who knows what will happen in the next month after that. But as you think about planning for the school year and what you're going to do, which instructional models are you planning to support? And you can select all that apply. So, are you doing 100% in class? Is there some sort of hybrid? Are you doing live remote learning, self-paced? Are you having teachers at school, students at home? Or other, who knows, right? There's a lot of different things going on out there. So I'm going to show our live results as we're doing this. We can see it come in real time. So it looks like we're kind of all over the board with this one. So we've got a lot of people doing hybrid and a lot of other as well. If you want to add in the chat what the other is, we'd love to talk about that. Yeah, you can see a lot of different scenarios because everyone really, depending on where your location is and what's going on in the community, it's a little bit different. So we're going to talk through how you can really support all of these models today and how you can really check in and make sure students are learning. Giancarlo, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think, if we ask this question 2 weeks from now, we'll get a different answer from the same people. And if we ask it a month from now, we'll get a different answer. And I think one thing that we're going to have to all be accustomed to is being adaptable, right? And we teach this to our kids. And I think it's an opportunity where we're going to need to model it and how we adapt because this is the reality. We are at the mercy of this pandemic. And so what districts put in place today, and a lot of districts have done their due diligence and have different scenarios planned out, and they can easily switch into the next one. And so that's something that we have to take into consideration. I think that's why many of you put down there's different models that you're planning for, because that's kind of the reality that we're in.
Awesome. All right, well, helpful for us. Thank you for that. All right, so as you think about that learning environment you're preparing for, what is your biggest challenge? Now, this is using a feature called Shout It Out. So on your devices, wherever you've joined the session, you can just put in some of the biggest challenges that you're anticipating for the coming year. And what Giancarlo and I will do is really take a look at those and kind of categorize them and talk through what we're seeing. So on your devices, you can go ahead and just plug that in, and we'll start to see some responses populate. And
you could send more than one, and I would actually encourage just send one at a time. So someone just mentioned keeping the students socially distanced. Yes, and especially if you're working with the little ones, that's going to be interesting. So send more than one. You can send as many as you want, and send them individual, and we'll start categorizing them. For those who can't see the screen, we'll be the
masks on.
Verbally kind of white.
Masks on.
We have a lot about kind of the new procedures, right? The new health and
equitable home or in the classroom. how to
Yeah,
keep.
and even the concept of students attendance, right? Attendance is going to be way more variable now, right? As parents have uncertainties or kids develop sniffles, and there's new protocols if they're even going to be in class. And how do we manage more transiently than past? Absolutely, is definitely an issue. We see attendance again.
Wow.
Yeah, the issue with connectivity, one of the things we've had these types of sessions with even system leaders, and a big thing that's missed is the relationships, right, between students and parents. So that concept someone mentioned about the connection between the students and the educators, and staying connected with them, especially if you're just only seeing them remotely, right? How do you build a rapport that normally takes you a couple of weeks, the first week of school? No doubt is top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Variability in lessons when you're virtual, right? So how do we vary it? One thing I hear is an enthusiasm and interest, right? Engagement. How do we make sure that we're differentiating and having different opportunities for kids to be kind of connected in and feeling like they can participate?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I sort of categorize these. And Giancarlo, can you? I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think about the categories that I've put here? Do you agree with these? Anything sad about them?
I would say, the ones that everybody who started shouting out first were related to the new things we have to deal with as educators. I mean, I used to teach high school math, and I'd be thinking of the same thing of like, there's new protocols, health and safety protocols, and I'm not used to doing that. Top of mind, how do I do that? If I'm in a kindergarten classroom, oh my gosh, right? I'd be extremely. So there's the health and safety parts and adherence, absolutely a piece of that. I think there's a whole other section related to, the transient need of kids, right? Kids coming in and out, and then how do we manage that? How do we do programming? If we have a task that's 3 days and the kid missed 2 days, then how do we catch them up? So all the things related to programming and instruction. The other piece, though, is the big one, I think, on the right there. It's, keeping the kids engaged. Keeping the kids connected. What are the pedagogies that I'm going to leverage, especially if they're just virtual? What if they're blended? What are the new methods that we need to use? The other thing that I didn't see here, guys, which I think I would encourage all of you to think about, and it comes up often in other circles, is how, given what you just put on the page, how are you going to adapt? And what's going to be your support network? How are you building a community of educators that they're going to be your go-tos? When Sally hasn't shown up for 3 days and all of a sudden shows up and it's the day of the assignment is due, right? How are you going to manage that? And where's your network of people that you're going to throw that challenge to? So it's something that I would encourage. The other thing I would encourage, and I double click on the pedagogies part, is the variability, right? How do you incorporate different instructional strategies and pedagogies that might be outside of what you're used to, or maybe that you don't even know, to engage kids in this now virtual blended way? So 2 things that I would say that I would throw on there that I didn't see.
Absolutely. Oh, we got a few more in here too. So let's see. Oh, yeah, engaged. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and move on. And again, we're using our Shout It Out tool. If you're curious, if you're a Smart Learning Suite user, you might be familiar with this tool, but we are using that tool as we go through here today, and you'll get a good chance to experience that. So when we think about supporting blended hybrid learning, whether you're in class and dealing with distancing or you're remote, we actually think about these 3 different things. So one, and John, I'm getting a little feedback on your end. I don't know if while I'm chatting, if you can help on mute. Awesome, thank you. So one, we want to focus on how can you interact with students anywhere. That came up as a big problem on the previous page, a big challenge on the previous page. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how do you provide that meaningful feedback. So I think one of the ones I saw on the previous page was, how do you help students when you have to be 6 feet away? What type of feedback can you give them? How do you support them? And then also we wanted to integrate with your existing platforms. Maybe you're using Google Meet, maybe you're using Zoom or Teams. How can you have this tool integrate and support and enhance your existing platform, so it's not one big extra thing to learn? So those are the big 3 that we're going to talk about today and show you how we can accomplish those. This is another example of using our software. We're going to get you into a quick workspace and just have you describe your plans to support student to teacher interaction. Great opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and make this an actual collaborative workspace. So if you're joining us online, you can join this workspace, and it's going to start on your devices. And let's see, I'm gonna put this together. We'll just, how many do we have today? I think several of us, I think my lesson reloaded, so I have several of you joining here again. So I'm gonna just put 2 teams. See how that works. Yeah, we'll do 2 teams here and we will start our workspace. So with this, as we're working through, you get an opportunity to learn from some of your peers, but what are your plans to support that student to teacher interaction? Recognizing that you might have to be distanced in the classroom or that they might not be in the room with you. What are you planning? And Giancarlo, anything else to add to that as they're adding their comments in on this workspace?
Yeah, there, this student to teacher interaction piece is an interesting one. There was a country leader who was sharing that, part of their strategy was every morning they'd have like a debrief, the teacher with all the students. Every morning a quick connect, and it would last 30 minutes, and then it started extending to 45 and an hour. And so they said, wow, that's too much time. It's cutting into programming. And so they cut it down. And that was the biggest thing that the students complained about. It's connectivity, right? Kids want to be connected with their educator and with their peers. And so that makes me think about, as we do programming throughout the day, how are we thinking about ways in which we create opportunities for our peers to connect with each other, right? To see what someone else did and comment on it, right? So kids are having a dialogue and interaction with each other. That's the thing that they've missed the most. Through our kind of experiment in, this emergency learning that we went through, but now we have a chance to plan, right? So let's think about, as we're planning, how do we support it? So Amy, what are you reading here as people are sending things in?
Yeah, so I'm looking at things like identifying relatable or reliable tools that promote engagement and establishing virtual office hours. I think that's a great one. I know my students have a kindergartner and first grader, and we did some office hours last year. Collaborating with shared documents, screencasts, helpful tips, things like that. Absolutely. Let's take a look what our other team is putting in there. So morning meetings again with a TA, one-to-one conversations. Absolutely. So I'm going to jump back to this one. Oh, we got a few more things. Group projects. Yeah, absolutely. So Giancarlo, any commentary on some of the ones we're seeing here?
Yeah, I think it's in line to what I was saying. It's focusing on the relationship, right? Focusing on these one-to-one, these opportunities to build rapport, but also it's how do we build rapport, help the kids build rapport in a constructive way with their peers that's aligned to curriculum and aligned to programming, and tries to make them at least feel like they're part of a classroom and connected to a part of a community, right? And so the more ways we can find for students to be interacting with each other in a constructive way, and we see that with some of the tools that were shared here on this screen. Right, project-based learning, bang on, right? That's a great strategy, right? Because it forces collaborative group work, shared, that they have to get to a common goal by the end of a period. And so, by the nature of it, that you can imagine when kids are getting together to plan, to design, to reflect, to give feedback, it's all great opportunities for students to be interacting with each other, and for teachers to insert themselves in a kind of a natural way of interacting with them in a smaller scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on and talk a little bit about how our software tool, Smart Learning Suite, can help you interact with students anywhere. So you've already had a chance to see that, one, you can connect devices. So all of us are connected to my class. Again, it's really easy for the students to connect, hellosmart.com. If you've logged in once, that login is going to remain there. So it's very easy for you to have your students sign in. We'll talk a little bit about how this can also integrate with your existing ecosystems towards the end. So again, if you're posting things in Google Drive or Teams, they don't have to leave that platform. They can just access it there. So one, it's easy to connect. I can pace you through this lesson. So I actually have you on teacher paced mode now. But I showed you at the beginning, I can move you to student paced mode. So I have the ability to guide us through a lesson. So again, when you think about, are they really learning? The first thing is, are they really following, where we're at? So I have the ability to enhance that with this, and I can pace them through. Not only can I pace them through, but I can also highlight specific things that I really want to talk about. So I can, take my ink and make notes, and that's going to show up on their screen as well. So, imagine, for example, we're just doing something like solving a math problem. And, I'm writing at my display, and they're seeing that in real time. And I'm just talking them through how to do that. That's showing up on their end. So that's one way. We'll talk a little bit later about how you can now push this to the students and have them do a little bit. But that's one particular way is even just engaging them, pacing them through. Let me find my page here. Pacing them through the assignment. You can also give them interactive assignments. So I'm actually going to jump at the end of this file. I've got some examples here. So imagine if I were teaching a lesson on civilizations and cities and natural resources. I could pace this through this lesson. Like I said, I could ink on this lesson as well. But when I come here, I could actually do things like start games for my class or give them manipulatives and handouts. So we could play a fun game called something like Monster Quiz. I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but it's a fun way to engage and interact with students. And again, make sure that they are participating. So we could just do 3 teams here. And I'm going to start our quiz. So we're going to pretend like I taught a lesson on natural resources. So if you don't know these answers, that is okay. But again, talk about a fun, engaging way. The students are interacting. We'll show, we won't get too much into the creation side of things, but this is a really easy template to create and customize. So we can see, again, students joining on a Zoom, much like we are, going through these particular questions.
I think Boomboxers is going to win this one, but Blizzard.
I know it.
Close behind. It's gonna be close. But my
I
money's
know
on
it.
Boomboxers. Oh, so close.
See, let's see. Oh, CC brought it in for the win with Boomboxers. So again, on your screen, you see how you did, and then I can really talk us through our results here. And I can do an overall class review, and we can talk through how we did for each of our questions and have some feedback. So again, it's a great opportunity to engage students remotely. So I'm gonna, that noise is a little loud there, so we're gonna jump off that for a sec. But you can play those games, create those games, super easy to do. Well, like I said, we'll talk through that a little bit at the end. And I can also give you just virtual handouts. So this is a page, and I'm gonna make this an independent handout and get everyone involved here. And you can actually just, once you click on it, your name pops up here, and you can be working on this on your own. I have a teacher handout where I could come in and I could model this for you. And I could say what you're going to do is drag these to the correct category. So table, well, that really depends, right? It could be made out of trees, could be made out of iron, depending on how modern your table is. So your students are working through that. And I could pick, a particular student, and I could look at their work, have insight into what they're doing. So it's a nice way, and I could just scroll through my group over here. It's a nice way for me just to check in, get my students kind of interacting and working with content. There we go, Marley, look at that, nice. So a lot that you can do with these particular workspaces. And I'm gonna jump back here. Giancarlo, anything to add while I'm flipping back to our page here?
Yeah, I think one thing that for those of you that are watching, and those of you who can't watch, that I'll point out is kind of variability, right? So you noticed, from the beginning, something as simple as, hey, shout out some words, not verbally, but through texting. And so you see a bunch of words, you can group and organize. It instigates conversations. You could ask people to kind of what I did, right? Is I could have asked a student, hey guys, what do you notice? What are the groupings that we see? But then you saw other things where they were more individualistic, right? So a student is completing something, a task by themselves, but in a gamified way is connected to other students, right? That was that game that you saw before. And then there's also just workspaces, right? So the second one that you saw is just a space where you and your peers can actually be co-constructing something together. So imagine those kids have that shared space and they have to construct or build something together. So the key thing that I would say there is, you have, and I think the beauty is it's all in one place and it's simple, right? So you go to this web browser, and then it's really easy to have these different types of tasks, especially with the younger kids. You have to kind of switch the tasks, they'll get bored really quickly. So you have this high variability of the different types of ways you can engage the students. And they're all centered around instigators about dialogue and discussion around your topic or your theme or your curricular expectation.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm just gonna pause and see if there's any questions in the chat. Let me open that up quickly and just take a quick look to see.
Yeah, so I've been scanning that, and
okay,
there's some questions about, hey, what is this tool and where do I get it and where are the resources? And so thank you. Someone just posted a link to otis.tech.com where you can take a look. There's some free resources available there, videos and blog posts, and you can learn more about it there. And then the rest were kind of amplifying some of the commentary that we were talking about before.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So as we move on, so we've talked a lot about engaging, getting people interactive, but that's one part of it, right? We want them engaged, we want them listening, but how do we provide them meaningful feedback? So let's just open this back up again. We'll make this a collaborative workspace. This time I'm just going to put everyone on the same team. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you guys now have the opportunity again to share with us, what are your plans to provide meaningful feedback? We'd heard some things earlier about shared docs. I'm curious if there's other plans out there for that.
Yeah,
It's hard to
go ahead.
It's hard to not necessarily have the luxury of being in the same room.
Yeah, and that's a big topic. And you know, one of the and actually a lot of the U.S. state departments of education leaders that run events, they were talking about how could we use this as an opportunity. Because when you're doing virtual, the best way to get a sense of student progress is through the ongoing kind of representations of what they do, which, you know, for those of you clued in on the terminology, it's formative assessments versus summative, right? And there's some states in the US that are actually shifting all of their funding away from the state standardized assessments this year and helping to develop teacher capacity to do more of the formative, right? And how do we do more frequent representations of understanding student progress throughout the day, and then have that be kind of our guide and an insight into students representing their work. And so it's a different way of thinking, right? Because, hey, your test is on Thursday. Well, if we don't feel comfortable assigning a test on Thursday, then what are other ways that the student can demonstrate their learning in their own ways throughout the week that will give us enough confidence that they've mastered or have at least developed the competency in that skill. So what are we seeing people send here or share?
So some conferencing, so perhaps having, you know, one-on-one or small group conversations, chatting, I think is good, a chat box, a digital portfolio, love that. I think it's a great way to cumulatively show growth over time. Polling, just that quick, you know, just like I shouted out, you know, how are we doing, feedback there. Google Forms, another great way to provide that feedback, and provide frequent feedback throughout projects. There we go, throughout student projects.
Yeah, and in the chat, someone else mentioned the concept of conferencing, right? So sometimes actually, you know, setting up a time where you can have that kind of connection, right? So you can get an understanding of progress.
Yep, absolutely. We've got someone experimenting with the ink tool as well. I love it. So,
which actually is a good point, right? Which is there's different ways in which students might want to represent their thinking. And so, you know, you could have sent an image to represent versus the words. And so we have to think when we're looking for feedback is how are we providing multiple ways in which kids can represent or want to represent their thinking or their learning. Maybe a child would want to draw something. So imagine a student is drawing something or model something out and they have this on the phone, they snap a pic and they send the picture. Whereas the other student actually wants to describe it with 3 or 4 words, right? So all of that is you know, we got to come, and it's kind of a universal design for learning principles, is how do we provide multiple opportunities for students to represent their thinking in a diverse way. And I think with tools and digital, we can start expressing and opening up the different ways in which we can allow students to represent themselves, right? And tools like this will make it super simple for you know, the teacher doesn't have to create multiple different things so that kids can represent their thinking differently. This platform just allows kids to represent their thinking in different ways, visually, drawing it, through text, through words. Audio, I think, is turned on this week as well. Different ways of doing it.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how, again, Smart Learning Speed Online allows you to provide that meaningful feedback, or offers ways in which you can provide that meaningful feedback. You've seen some of these as we've gone along, but this is actually one of my most favorite ways in which to use our tool. So I'm just going to jump through. We have Handouts and Workspaces. So I'm going to go back to our natural resource example down here at the end. So one of the things that you can do is just have students, maybe this is a PDF that you took and you put here. So maybe it's normally something you would do in the classroom. Every student would be working on it. You don't necessarily have the ability to do that, or maybe you have devices and you don't want to have to, you know, print and use that. You can actually have them, I'm going to turn this into an individual handout. You can actually have students work again on something individually, and I can look at their spaces. What I love about this again is that you've got the visual and then you've got their work. and then I can actually peek into their spaces real time. So I think it's really exciting that this is visually represented in a way, and then I also have the ability to check in real time and see how students are doing. So I could jump into, I'm going to jump into Jay's here. And I could say, okay, Jay, I really want you to, think about, I'm going to just give you some feedback here. Think about the oceans, like, think about the oceans and how close they are and how that might have helped frame that. So maybe students need a little bit more scaffolding, a little bit more support. I can provide that as we go. So, so Jay's probably seeing my work show up on his screen. And again, I can just navigate through and look at everyone else's. And if you guys want to add commentary here, you can. It's not required at this point. But again, it's a nice way for me to take something and put it into my students' hands and just immediately provide them feedback. This is a preset one, but what if I created this beforehand? But what if I am doing some quick learning and I want to create that blank page? I'm going to go back to that math example I did earlier, but this could be a sketch. I could say, draw your natural resource and use, something like that. I'm going to do a quick math one. Oh, I picked a 3, which is tough, but we'll go with it. Let's see, 27. Let's see if that ends up working out. So I could do some math work here, and then what I could do is actually model that once for my students. And then again, I could push that to each student. And now you're working on this independently. So think about the ability, I just modeled something for you. Now I'm giving it to you to work on your own. And if you guys wouldn't mind, if you want to jump in and grab this, either the ink button over here, whatever tools are comfortable for you. Like Giancarlo said, you've got a lot of different ways that you can work through things, and go ahead and start solving this. So if you're worried about the math, sorry, I picked a 3. Now I have to do 27 minus 9. Is that what? Giancarlo, I'm on the spot. Give me that answer. 16, is that right?
Okay.
No.
Well, since it's a collaborative
18,
task,
18.
other people chime in and edit your answers.
Yes. So you're going to watch me suffer with my math here. It's super embarrassing. So 3x equals 18, and then we divide by 3. So I'm helping Laura perhaps with this problem. Laura is seeing me in real time. Imagine, again, we're in a small group, our mics are off, we're chatting, I'm helping her through this. I can look at the rest of my students. Oh, Thea has figured out that there's a done button. So, so Thea, I didn't say this earlier, but if you choose the done button, that means you're open to me clicking on your name. So I'm going to do that. Look at that, fabulous. She didn't have to scribble out anything like I did. So I can say here and give her some awesome feedback if I want to. And let's just say a student is really struggling. I know this right away. I can jump into their workspace. I can give them feedback. I can just take note of this and say, okay, it looks like I need to reconnect with Amy after class because she doesn't know what 27 minus 9 is. So maybe we need to go back to some earlier skills. But I just love the immediacy of this feedback. And I can do this one-on-one. I can do this in small groups. And it doesn't have to be something big that I'm preparing. It could be a PDF that I import. It could be just a whiteboard that I'm pushing out to them. So I love that. Giancarlo, anything to add to the handouts? Oh, you were on mute.
Apologies. I'm so new to this, so I don't know. I got to get used to it. So there was a commentary about what's great is you as an educator can see the students' work and you can comment on it and probe. But what if I want other students to be able to comment on each other's, and maybe it should instigate creativity or dialogue and have kids justify answers with each other? So there's a question around, in this space, is there a way for students to be able to see each other's work and then to be able to comment and answer and create those justifications?
Awesome, I love it. So that is the handout piece. I think it's super helpful, again, to get that feedback. We also want to just show you, we've had a chance to work in a few workspaces, but I want to show you that as well. So this is one where you're working in groups, designing land. Again, think about, you don't have perhaps the luxury of sitting together in a corner with a poster board and drafting stuff out. Now you have the ability to do that remotely. I could just make this a collaborative workspace. And again, I'm going to put everyone on one team for today. And so I have the ability to, in this one, you're working in groups, you're designing a city, you're building infrastructure, industries, residences. So you could work together to add these things in as a team. So I could come in here and I could say, let's see, I'm going to look for the residences. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to type that in here for a picture. This is a nice sample house, very lovely. So I can drag those around. We also have, thank you, Farm, we also have attribution. So I can actually see who contributed to that workspace. So thank you, Michelle, for your contribution there. So again, as you're working in small groups, you can see who's contributing what to the workspaces. And again, I can scaffold that. So I actually have the ability to provide feedback. I could, if I was creating small groups, I could differentiate what each of my students were seeing in their small groups. So there's a lot of neat things. I see lots of pictures. Ooh, castle, I love it. I love it. Ooh, yes, that's a nice natural resource. And I'm realizing that still we're zooming out the map, and that's okay as well. But again, it's a great way for me to have everyone working together in a project. Thank you, Dawn. Love the electricity. Let's see, who did the castle here? We just got a number here. And then we've got, let's see, Michelle with her her little barn there. Thank you. Oh, a boat. Awesome. So yes, Laura. So Giancarlo, anything else to add here?
Yes, I think that actually answers a question that was posed earlier around students, using a page where students can kind of bounce ideas off each other and then have to defend each other and kind of instigating dialogue and discussion. So you can imagine if you set up, a breakout, right, with whether you're using Zoom or Google or Teams, where students are now working and having a discussion and they're contributing content and then have to defend and justify their choices. This is kind of a way to do it. There was another question that was posted earlier, and I just answered it for them, but I'll verbalize it for the rest of you is, that first activity was shout it out. Only you could see it, and you were sharing your screen so everybody could see it. So how do we create a way where students can all contribute, but everybody can see what they're doing? This is Workspaces. This is what you're seeing here. So there are lots of different ways in which you can, as an educator, decide how you want students to engage and interact. Is it just you and the student and provide feedback to them? Is it putting students in groups? Or is it like where we're doing? We put everybody together, right? Let's put everybody together and everybody can populate at the same time. And let's see what kind of the rich discussion and dialogue could happen as a result of it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so those are my two favorites, I think, Handouts and Workspaces. One of the other things that we have, like I could, quickly, let me jump back, up here. I also could talk about how we actually integrate with your ecosystem. And this is where we're going to talk a little bit about how to create these things. I know we're coming short on time, so this is almost the end here. We do have a Google app. We also have a Microsoft Teams app. So I'll show you both of those today. If you're a Teams user, it's quickly and easy. It's really easy to grab that from the apps side of things. We work with our smart displays. So if you have smart displays in your classroom and you want to be doing this stuff at your board and pushing it out to students, you can absolutely do that. And then we integrate with video conferencing as well. So whether you're using Zoom like we are today and sharing a screen like this and having them connect, Teams, Google Meet, really easy to connect with video conferencing as well. So I'm going to jump back and really quickly show you that Google app. Again, your Google domain administrator can add that app on. It's included with the Smart Learning Suite subscription, so nothing extra there. You just go ahead, and what happens with the app is that it allows me to actually create directly inside my Google Drive. So it's going to pop up my creation. It's actually going to allow me, if you look back here, it's going to allow me to save and store anything in my Google Drive, and then I can share it in Google Classroom. Let's say I have something like a Google Slides that I've already created. I can actually take that Google Slides and open it with Smart Learning Suite. So once I open it with Smart Learning Suite, I can start pacing students through. I can add handouts to it, make pages workspaces, and add games, all those fun things. It actually essentially allows you to do all of these things with it. This page you'll see regardless whether you're a Google user, Microsoft user, or you're just jumping out to our web and accessing it. But you can see you can add your own content, PDFs, PowerPoints, G Suite files, videos, new pages, shout it out, response, we've been using those. We have a whole bunch of different games that you can add in. For example, that monster quiz is right here. You can get a quick preview of it. It's super easy to create these. Like if I were to click on Monster Quiz, the creation templates is really simple. You just keep hitting next, type your questions in. So it's very easy to do those types of things. I'm going to discard my changes. And then we also have what's called ready-made activities. So all these different things, think about a PDF or a Google Slides or a PowerPoint, and you want to add this rich interactivity to it. I can do things like activate prior knowledge, QWL, you know, what do you want to know, true or false, an entrance ticket, draw what you know, again, multimodalities there. Or reflection activities. So I want to add in things like plus, minus, interesting, agree, disagree. We heard polling talked about. These are great for polls. Some of my favorites here are things like the 6-word summary or the 1-minute paper. So, you know, I can quickly just put one of these on there and it's going to set my file up. It's going to be in Google Drive, and my students, again, just need to jump out, join my class. I can save that link in Google Drive. They have access. With Teams, I just realized I don't have my Teams open right now. The same thing though, you can add an app in Teams and you can do all of those things directly inside of Teams. So if there's someone here who wants Teams, type your name in. We'll make sure to send you the Teams specific information on that. But again, all these things are available and easy to integrate with your existing ecosystems.
Just a question that popped up, which I think is an important one, which is, you know, what we saw here is synchronous, right? So everybody, all the students are together with us at the same time. Can we still use this if, let's say, I'm going to do asynchronous, right? So I might do the lesson, but my kid might access it tonight at 10 p.m. How does that work?
Absolutely. So earlier when we said you didn't need to sign in with your ID, that's because we weren't going to assign anything here for you. If you had your students sign in with their Google or Microsoft IDs, then you could actually assign this to them. They access it outside of class. They can do the workspaces. They can do the handouts. And then when they come back, you know, they can look at the whole file, watch anything that you put there. And then when you come back together, you'll see all of the work that they've done while they were outside of class. Or even if you never come back together, you have the ability to see the work that they've done. You don't have to be real time for that. Great clarification.
Awesome. One other quick question is around, you know, is this like a special app the kids need to download on their devices? Tell us a bit about that. And then someone obviously wants to know about, you know, if my district doesn't have this, how do I access it? So quick summary of how do we get access to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So to the first question, it's not as, you know, just like you went, there's nothing you need to do special on the student side. So essentially on the student side, you do exactly what you did, which was jumped out to hellosmart.com and you signed in. A lot of people, as they're getting started, they just have everyone sign in as guests. So they have the experience that you had here today. They start there and then they start having students log in and do the asynchronous stuff. Completely up to you. But yeah, students just jump here. They don't have to have anything specific. You don't need to license anything by a student. It's all done at the teacher level. To your question about how do you get it, so I'm sure that Tech can follow up with you and talk to you about single licenses. So you can get a single license if your district doesn't already have that. And Tech, if you want to put maybe some follow-up information in the chat on how to get that, I think that would be helpful. And then, yeah, like I said, the apps are included as a part of the Learning Suite subscription. I know we're getting super tight on our time here. So what I wanted to do is just let you know that there's a lot of additional resources from here. So I know in the chat, that they've already posted, here's how you can get some PD from Tech. Also wanted to let you know about some of the PD that we have. And I think one of the things, if you're following along with me, click right here on Ready, Set, Smart. I'm going to go there too. This is a great place to get started to see some live webinars. So you're going to see we've got, lessons in 5, self-paced, how do you get started, stop, collaborate, and learn, being a smarty pants with Smart and Google, the Dream Team, Smart Learning Suite Online with Microsoft Teams. So a whole bunch of different ways in which you can, webinars that you can join. We also have a whole bunch of getting started support as well. So if you wanted to just come up to support and choose getting started, you'll see a whole bunch of different teacher guides and just quick little videos that you can access if you want to learn more about how to get started with Smart Learning Suite. Oops, let's jump back. Okay, so I think, Giancarlo, anything else in the chat? Anything else we want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I think we've covered everything, and then I think the only outstanding things we'll have someone to kind of share where you can get more information with related to professional development, as well as purchasing it, right? And someone from the tech team will be happy to help you with that. And that'll be dropped in the chat soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. And for the most fun part, so for attending today, we will actually be drawing a name to win a school site license for this. So if you attended today, you'll be in that drawing, and perhaps you have a chance to win this license for your entire school site. So really excited. Good luck with that one. As we leave, I will leave this presentation open for you guys. I'm going to put you in student pace mode if you wanted to navigate through. Nina will be sending out the presentation as well, so you have access to it. But you're in student pace mode. You'll be able to go to any of the links that were there. If there was something you wanted to jump back in and look at, I'll keep it running for probably the next 30 minutes or so.
That is correct. We are going to have that presentation to you within the next 24 hours. And also, if you have any questions, additionally, you can email me at ninasclafani@tech.com. I just put it in the chat. I know it's a mouthful. Or events@tech.com.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your participation. I hope that you had a chance to see how we can use these tools to, see if they're really learning and gauge that feedback or provide that feedback. So thank you. Best of luck as you start the school year.
Amy, Giancarlo, thank you both so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure, our pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, and for everyone else, we have one more session today. If you join us at 3 o'clock, we are learning about the Fly Charge. It's powering learning, keeping today's diverse educational devices charged and powered with Fly Charge. So make sure to check that out at 3 o'clock. We hope to see you there.
Everyone.
Bye.